Bezos basically wants to own the whole economy, right?
You think he will?
I kind of think he will. I kind of think that in like 10 years, Jeff Bezos owns every single thing there is.
How much of the internet do you run?
It's a good question. It's a lot, though.
Jeff Bezos, a man who quietly controls half of the world's digital sky, the cloud where Netflix streams. Facebook stores your memories, and even the CIA runs its data. A man whose company ships over 5 billion packages a year, and who's now building data centers in orbit. His fortune exceeds $230 billion, enough to buy every block of central London several times over. Yet, unlike Elon Musk, who tweets his every move, this man built his empire in silence, a network so vast that entire economies now depend on it. From a modest garage in Seattle to a trillion-dollar colossus spanning retail, media, logistics, and space. He's rewritten how the modern world shops, talks, and thinks. But behind the convenience of one click lies something far bigger. A system of invisible power, one that shapes policy, controls infrastructure, and quietly decides who gets to compete in the digital age. This is the story of the empire named Jeff Bezos, long before he became the richest man on Earth. Jeff Bezos was a curious child with a screwdriver in one hand and a disassembled radio in the other. He was born Jeffrey Preston Jorgensen in 1964 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the son of a teenage mother and a father who performed circus tricks on a unicycle. His mother, Jacqueline Gies, was just 17. His biological father, Ted Jorgensen, vanished before Jeff could remember his face. The story shifted when Jacqueline remarried a Cuban immigrant named Miguel Mike Bezos, an engineer who had fled Havana at 16 with almost no English. Mike adopted Jeff, giving him both a new last name and a new start. Out of this unlikely blend, a teenage mother, a runaway from Cuba, and a boy with a relentless mind, the Bezos myth quietly began. By his teenage years in Texas, Jeff's curiosity had turned into a near obsession. He built homemade labs in the family garage, wired up electric alarms to keep his siblings out, and graduated as valedictorian at Princeton. He dove into computer science just as the digital revolution was taking off, and soon joined the elite ranks of Wall Street at D.E. Shaw, a hedge fund that treated code like currency. Then, in 1994, at age 30, Bezos made a choice that would change not just his life, but the way the world shops. He quit his high-paying job, packed his old Chevy Blazer, and drove across America with a laptop and a vision to sell books online. His parents invested their life savings, about $245,000, without fully understanding what the internet even was. That humble garage in Seattle, littered with cables and packing tape, became the birthplace of Amazon. Few could have guessed that this small online bookstore would grow into the backbone of global commerce, or that its founder would one day set his sights on the stars, both metaphorically and literally. When Jeff Bezos launched Amazon in 1994, it seemed like a crazy idea, an online bookstore run from a garage, powered by a few servers and a borrowed desk. But Bezos wasn't really selling books. He was testing a system, a new way for people to buy, store, and move things in the digital age. Within just a few years, that small bookstore exploded into something far bigger. By 1998, Amazon had begun selling CDs, electronics, and toys, turning into what Bezos called the everything store. His strategy was ruthless in its simplicity: scale fast, reinvest every dollar, and make it cheaper for customers to stay than to leave. Profit could wait, dominance could not. Then came the crash of 2000, as the dot-com bubble burst and thousands of startups vanished overnight. Amazon's stock fell by almost 90%. Most CEOs would have pulled back. Bezos doubled down. He streamlined operations, built automation into every corner of the company, and launched Amazon Marketplace, allowing third-party sellers to list their own products on the site. It was a turning point. Amazon was no longer just a retailer, it was becoming the digital infrastructure for global commerce. That same mindset led to Amazon's quiet revolution in 2006, Amazon Web Services, or AWS, born out of the company's unused computing power. AWS let anyone rent access to Amazon's servers within a few years. It was powering the internet itself, Netflix, Airbnb, NASA. Even the CIA all ran on Amazon's invisible backbone. What began as a side experiment became Amazon's true engine of profit. transforming the company from a retailer into a digital utility that the modern web depends on. By the 2010s, Bezos had turned that momentum into a full-fledged ecosystem. He launched Amazon Prime, making loyalty more rewarding than leaving, acquired Whole Foods to invade grocery aisles, built Alexa to live inside homes, and expanded into entertainment with Prime Video. Every move from drone delivery to Ring doorbells fed into a single goal to make Amazon present in every part of daily life. Behind the scenes, the company built one of the largest logistics networks in history, with hundreds of thousands of workers, its own cargo airline, and over 80 fulfillment centers moving millions of packages every day. By the time the world realized what was happening, Amazon had evolved into something beyond business, a digital nation of its own. Its servers powered the internet. Its boxes moved through every neighborhood. Its algorithms shaped what we see and buy. From that small Seattle garage to the edge of space, Jeff Bezos hadn't just built a company. He had built the invisible infrastructure of modern life. By the 2020s, Amazon had become something far greater than a company. It was the digital bloodstream of modern life flowing through shopping carts, government servers, and even the speakers in our homes. Its influence spanned continents, economies, and ideologies. And at the center of it all was Jeff Bezos, a man who once sold paperbacks from a garage, now orchestrating the invisible infrastructure that kept the modern world online. In Washington, Amazon's reach ran deeper than most realized. The company quietly assembled one of the largest lobbying operations in American history, spending hundreds of millions to shape policy and secure government contracts worth billions. Bezos' ownership of the Washington Post only fueled speculation about his political influence. He rarely intervened directly, but owning one of the nation's most trusted newspapers granted him something more subtle: credibility, access, and narrative control. When the U.S. government proposed a $10 billion defense cloud contract for Amazon, critics warned that national intelligence might soon rest on the private servers of a single man. The deal was eventually canceled, but the message was clear. Amazon wasn't merely part of the system, it was the system. Inside its warehouses, another kind of story unfolded. Reports describe workers walking 15 miles per shift under relentless digital surveillance. Algorithms tracked every motion, handheld scanners timed bathroom breaks. What began as a triumph of efficiency now looked, to many, like cruelty disguised as data. The 2021 Union Drive in Bessemer, Alabama became a national showdown, thousands of employees fighting for a voice, while Amazon blanketed them with anti-union messaging and legal pressure. By 2025, the National Labor Relations Board had filed multiple complaints accusing the company of retaliating against worker organizers. Bezos defended the model as data-driven performance, but for many, it felt less like innovation and more like a high-tech assembly line where humans answered to code. Then came the privacy storms, as Alexa devices and Ring cameras spread through homes. Questions about surveillance grew impossible to ignore. In 2023, the Federal Trade Commission fined Amazon $25 million for storing children's voice data and failing to delete user recordings. Another $5.8 million fine hit Ring after revelations that employees had spied on female customers. Meanwhile, police departments across the U.S. quietly partnered with Amazon to access Ring footage without warrants, what privacy advocates called a private surveillance grid for hire. Bezos' team promised reforms and transparency dashboards, but the episode revealed how deeply Amazon's technology had entangled itself with both private life and public law enforcement. Financial scrutiny soon followed, despite record profits. Amazon's effective U.S. tax rate in 2021 was just 6% thanks to a maze of offshore subsidiaries in Luxembourg and Ireland. Between 2010 and 2025, analysts estimated that the company legally avoided over $5 billion in federal taxes for ordinary taxpayers. The optics were infuriating: a trillion-dollar empire thriving on loopholes written for global elites. That same year, the FTC imposed a record $2.5 billion fine, accusing Amazon of using deceptive design to trap users in Prime subscriptions and obstruct cancellations. Abroad, regulators in Europe and India opened their own probes, investigating how Amazon undercut small sellers and cloned their best-selling products for its in-house brands. Environmental critics added another layer of tension. Amazon's data centers consume more electricity than some entire nations, though Bezos pledged $10 billion to the Earth Fund. Internal reports showed AWS still burning more than 16 terawatt hours annually. Activists called it greenwashing sustainability marketing wrapped around endless consumption. In 2024, the company quietly scaled back its diversity and inclusion programs, sparking backlash among employees who felt its conscience was fading. Yet, even in criticism, there was paradox. The same empire accused of fueling inequality was also building the infrastructure of progress, from renewable delivery fleets to Project Kuiper, a satellite network meant to beam internet across the world. Meanwhile, Bezos himself was changing. The shy technologist in khakis was gone. In his place stood a spacefaring magnate, lean, tanned, and unflinchingly confident. His post-divorce reinvention looked almost cinematic: yacht meetings with world leaders, televised rocket launches, and interviews that blurred ambition with philosophy. "We need to move heavy industry off Earth," he declared, a vision that sounded visionary to some and ominous to others. Because behind every innovation lay the same question: was Bezos building for humanity's future, or ensuring that Amazon's dominance would outlive the planet itself? The truth, perhaps, lies somewhere in between. Amazon's efficiency had become the world's dependency, its mistakes, the world's problem. And as governments debated how to regulate it, one reality had already settled: in Amazon had grown too big to break and too essential to dismantle. It had built the infrastructure of modern life, and in doing so, blurred the line between public good and private empire. The rise of Jeff Bezos isn't just a story about wealth, it's a story about power, the kind that hides behind every click, every delivery, and every line of code in the cloud. By 2025, Jeff Bezos is 61 years old and no longer just a businessman. He's a symbol of what modern ambition looks like when it's given unlimited capital, computing power, and time. His empire spans from cloud servers buried deep underground to rockets climbing beyond the stratosphere. But even empires built on algorithms are still, at their core, family enterprises. Bezos has kept his private life sealed off from public scrutiny: 4 children with his first wife, Mackenzie Scott, and a new chapter with fiancée Lauren Sanchez, who brings 3 children of her own. His father, Mike Bezos, still manages the family's private office, Aurora Borealis, which oversees more than $200 billion in investments and philanthropy. Through the Bezos Earth Fund, he's pledged $10 billion to fight climate change, a figure that sounds staggering, until you realize it's less than 2% of his net worth. He's donated hundreds of millions to education, veterans, and the homeless through the Day One Families Fund. Yet, critics argue the generosity can't offset the social cost of Amazon's dominance. Still, his imprint on the world is undeniable. Cities are reshaped by Amazon logistics hubs. Small businesses depend on its marketplace. The internet itself runs on AWS. His story has become a modern parable of power, a man who began by selling books and ended up building the digital architecture of civilization. And now, as Blue Origin prepares to launch gigawatt-scale orbital data centers and colonize space commerce, the question lingers: what comes after you've conquered the planet? For Bezos, perhaps legacy isn't about what he owns, but what he leaves behind: a system so deeply integrated into daily life that the world may never again function without it. From a dusty garage in Seattle to the edge of space, Jeff Bezos has spent 3 decades engineering convenience and, along the way, built a structure of power that quietly runs the modern world. Every package, every cloud upload, every buy now click feeds a system so vast it's become almost invisible. Amazon began as a promise to make life easier. Today, it defines how billions live, work, and connect, from the servers powering hospitals and governments to the algorithm deciding what shows up on your doorstep. It's efficiency at a planetary scale, but also dependency at a human one. So, what will history remember: a visionary who revolutionized commerce and technology, or an empire that rewired capitalism itself? Was Bezos creating opportunity or controlling it? As Blue Origin eyes the stars and Amazon burrows deeper into our digital lives, one truth remains: the age of Bezos isn't ending, it's evolving. Would you call him a builder of progress, or the architect of a new kind of monopoly? Share your thoughts below.